What it do, YouTube? I'm here with my boy Dan tonight, and he's the origin of the lab leak of AIDS. The monkey, you know? That was Dan, my boy. But we checking out a bunch of lab leaks that actually happened. If AIDS isn't on here, this list is stupid. Dark 5.
1967 Marburg virus outbreak.
I don't even know what the Marburg virus
In August
is.
1967, the idyllic town of Marburg, Germany, became the epicenter of a mysterious and deadly outbreak. Individuals inexplicably started experiencing muscle pain, headaches, malaise, and rapidly increasing body temperatures.
Oh shit, well, you know, this would
Initially
help if it was
baffled,
capturing.
medical officials
Thanks.
contained the first patients to their homes, treating them in isolation to control the potential spread of a virus.
Professionalism, it's what I
However,
do, Dan.
as symptoms
It's what I
intensified,
do.
the infected were transferred to university hospitals in Marburg and Frankfurt for close monitoring. Fever and bleeding from various orifices marked a terrifying progression of the illness.
But do you bleed from your anus?
Orifice?
Yeah, my key question, and we're gonna rate these outbreaks on severity by do you bleed from your anus? Because Ebola, like anything where you bleed from your fucking anus, dog, like that's bad. That means your organs are liquefying, you know what I mean?
Hey, about a week ago, I was shitting blood from fucking antibiotics that I was on.
Well, you heard it here first. Which ones were you on? Remind me not to...
Zypan or some shit like that.
Doesn't sound like fucking penicillin, so let's stick with penicillin,
Nah.
like fuck.
That's
Or
what
amoxicillin.
I'm on now.
Well, I hope you're not shitting blood anymore.
I'm on amoxicillin and clavulantic.
Tex, before you say anything illegal, we're recording right now, but join us. Alright? So we got a third reactor to this fucking outbreak video, and you don't need to know who he is, because he's a straight criminal. But yeah, we're checking out 5 terrifying lab leaks that actually happened. We've kind of struck an idea on the Marburg virus. We're going to rate them by severity on whether you bleed from your anus. And Val's here. Val, don't say nothing illegal.
Despite containment efforts, the infection ravaged their bodies, and within a week, many patients faced severe hemorrhagic shock. Officials raced against time to identify the elusive virus and prevent further
But was it
infections.
from the anus? I would assume so at this point.
When a pathology technician contracted the virus after accidentally cutting himself during a post-mortem examination.
Oh,
This
that's
discovery
bad.
suggested
I chopped my
bloodborne
finger off, bro.
Epidemiologists then traced the infection to employees of a vaccine manufacturer named Beringberka and an institute that handled similar substances. The common link, contact with blood and organs of African green monkeys recently imported from Uganda. Investigators speculated that the monkeys were infected in Uganda, or possibly in London, during temporary storage with other animals. With the source and transmission method identified, the virus was finally contained. The virus was later named the Marburg virus, after the city where it was first discovered.
You know, guys, like, we're pushing more and more into nature, and nature pushes back. Animals don't have much space left.
I'm trying to hear the video, and I can't hear the video. So,
I'm not gonna get all, like, ecological, but, like, look at China, like, well, let's see if this video says that that was a lab leak from the Wuhan Institute of Virology or not. When does something become a historical fact? Like, when are they gonna write that shit in textbooks, you know what I mean? When that shit gonna be official? Because we all know it. Fuck.
The 1967 outbreak recorded 32 confirmed cases and 7 deaths, but Marburg's deadly
I don't know, let's
legacy
ask
was far
Beijing
from over.
Biden or, like, Tiananmen Trudeau.
Although not known for massive outbreaks, the Marburg virus boasts a chilling mortality rate, up to 88% for certain strains.
Damn!
Re-emerging several times throughout modern history.
So you get that,
the
you
virus
gon'
claimed
die,
200
son.
lives in Angola between 2004 and 2005. Ghana reported 4 deaths in 2022.
You can turn the video up any?
And in early 2023, fatalities were recorded in Spain, Central
Sorry.
Africa, and
Never
Tanzania.
mind. She got it.
The Marburg virus's future strains remain unknown, but as history has shown, this lethal virus may continue to emerge and threaten human lives.
That's some serious shit, bro. 88%.
1977 Russian flu.
That's
Pretty
probably
sure
just
you
in that
bled from your
population
anus
area.
too. I'm pretty sure that
The
that made you bleed from
1977
your
outbreak
anus.
of the
We'll
Russian
put that
flu was
on
a
the
global
chart.
pandemic,
It
primarily
said
affected
from
younger
every
populations.
orifice.
Yeah, and they
Despite being
did
referred to as the
hemorrhage
Russian
out.
flu, the outbreak is
Yeah.
believed to have originated in northern
Definitely
China
proven
in May of 1977, prior to any cases being recorded in the Soviet Union. Initially, China was successful in slowing the spread of the virus, which was identified as the H1N1 influenza A strain, but it soon made its way to Siberia
Yep.
and rapidly spread throughout the Soviet Union.
No,
The outbreak
wasn't
primarily
bird flu
affected individuals younger
H5N1?
than 26, putting pressure on
Swine
the
flu.
education system and various industries.
Hey guys, they said I'd make
The
it when
virus also
pigs
reached
fly.
the UK
Swine
and the
flu.
US in late 1977 and January 1978, respectively. It primarily impacted students and military personnel in those regions. While the mortality rate of H1N1 strains is relatively low, claiming around 5 out of 100,000 infected individuals, the 1977 virus's rapid
That
spread
wasn't shit
resulted in an
compared to
estimated 700,000
88%.
deaths worldwide. Before the 1977 outbreak, the H1N1 influenza A virus had seemingly vanished from the world after 1957. This disappearance was due to the emergence of a new pandemic strain, H2N2. The H2N2 strain outcompeted H1N1 in the human population, effectively replacing it and causing the latter to cease circulating globally.
Viruses don't mutate.
The re-emergence of the H1N1 virus in 1977, after a 20-year absence, was highly unusual and
Doesn't the
unexpected.
Russian flu just
The
sound
fact
like
the
some serious
1977
shit,
strain
like just by the
was
name?
almost genetically identical to the one
Like, fuck
circulating
the
in the
Spanish
1950s,
flu, like,
fueled
the
suspicions
Russian
that the
flu, like,
outbreak
no.
resulted from a laboratory escape, rather than natural evolution. Under normal circumstances, the virus would have been expected to evolve and accumulate genetic changes over time. However, the 1977 strain seemed to have remained frozen in its genetic makeup since the 1950s. The genetic similarity to the 1950s H1N1 strain also explained why it had less impact on older populations, who likely had immunity due to exposure earlier in their lives.
What? That's a trip.
Chinese and Russian labs
Older
vehemently
people were
deny the
safer.
possibility of a laboratory leak, but it remains one of the
Because
most
they were immune to it,
scientifically
they built
Wait,
antibodies.
Did
So
they
they
say
built antibodies to it.
Did they say Chinese and
Chinese
Russian
and Russian
labs?
labs vehemently deny the
Mhm.
possibility of a laboratory leak, but it remains one of the most scientifically compelling explanations.
All of these
The existence of
labs
old
exist?
influenza
Yeah,
virus
these were
samples
all
used
real
for
lab
research or
leaks.
forgotten in defunct labs remains a concern, due to the possibility of leaks. In 2005, a US lab sent out 5,000 vials of the 1957 H2N2 influenza strain as part of a testing kit for modern flu cases. If any of these samples had escaped
That's why you have
containment,
influenza A
people
and
born
B.
after the last H2N2 outbreak in 1968 would have had no
You know, you can do this shit safely. Like, there is
That's
no
why
excuse.
that's why whenever you get tested, they test you for influenza A and B.
I had no idea there were an A and B, but that's cool information. In terms of virus testing, right? Like, you can do it
They're
without
looking-
leaks, and I will use Canada as an example. We
Hey.
have viral research going on. We were
Hold up.
experimenting with
If you're doing viral research, that means you're finding the virus out in the wild, right?
No,
well, yeah, you find it, but like then you isolate it and you play with
no,
it in a
they
lab,
don't
right?
find it.
They create it.
They create it. They
Yeah,
create it by
by
manipulating
mutating,
the DNA of
biological
the
warfare.
mitochondria.
right, but
They do it by
Biological warfare.
this is
Also
done
known
by
as-
mutating generally something fresh or exotic, you know what I mean?
They do it by genetically modifying the mitochondria of the cell so that it attacks itself and grows and has to have a host.
Biological warfare, also known as population control.
Well, biological warfare and population control are kind of hand in hand. In terms of
Why else would
China's
they be researching this shit?
in terms of China's response to COVID, for example, I mean, they took a long time to tell the rest of the world, and the reason, regardless of the origin of COVID, that they took, you know, a good month after they locked down Wuhan to say, yeah, we're locking down the airports, is because if China's economy was fucked, it was a better fucking position for them if the rest of the world's economy was fucked too at the same time.
So, right, but COVID was already the common cold that they had already gotten a hold on in 1984, and it was like cured by 88, and they had already created vaccines for it. However, what they did is they went back in and they genetically modified the mitochondria so that it had to be attacked by a protein instead of a dead virus.
Have you heard of the fact that like there is a part of the COVID virus that is the AIDS spike, basically?
Yeah.
Call it the AIDS spike.
Yeah,
How'd that get
it's
there?
it's
Is it the AIDS spike?
rapidity, how rapid it can go, how fast it can go. Because what they did is they made it so that it can withstand any climate.
Arriba.
Well, shit. That's a good point. Like, from Canada to like fucking Brazil, like the COVID virus been swinging.
Yeah,
No
and the
immunity.
thing is, they're like, oh, it doesn't stay alive on surfaces for longer than this amount of time. Well, that's a lie, because the simple fact is the virus can
1979
stay alive
Sverdlovsk anthrax
pretty
leak.
long on any surface if it's being airborne. If it's airborne and it mutates into, pathogen or whatever else kind of carrying system, it's got to have some kind of genetic makeup in it that is going to naturally evolve per ecosystem.
Chill, Luna.
Well, I mean, this is why you don't smoke weed, because like you
This is
can't
amazing.
you
Wait,
can't
what?
with something smart like that. That just went.
Anthrax is crazy.
Ooh.
Anthrax is man-made.
In April 1979, the city of
You're vaccinated
Sverdlovsk,
for it.
now known as Yekaterinburg in the Soviet Union, witnessed a catastrophic event
North
that claimed the
America's
lives of at
fine.
least
We all
66 people
vaccinated
and numerous
against
animals.
anthrax,
This
aren't we?
incident
Mm-mm.
resulted
No.
from an accidental release of anthrax
no.
spores from a secret military microbiology
Canada?
facility known as Compound
Civilians
19,
might be.
which was involved in developing biological
we
weapons.
weren't
I don't know if they are.
Yeah, hear how it works.
Anthrax, a
like-
deadly bacterial
our
infection,
soldiers.
poses significant dangers to both humans and animals. The bacterium, Bacillus anthracis, thrives in soil and releases spores that can infect
Anthracis.
grazing animals, subsequently contaminating their products, such as
The
meat,
fucked up thing
wool, or
about
hides.
anthrax is
Prompt diet.
because it releases spores, like these spores can be frozen and shit. Like Russia be having anthrax outbreaks out of the blue because like ice melts
It
dead
was
animals
the
and boom.
perfect-
Diagnosis and antibiotic
It was
treatment
the
can
perfect
save lives.
carrier because
However,
when
if left
we wanted
untreated,
to,
anthrax can cause
infect
severe
people, we would send it through the mail.
Yeah, that is one thing about the anthrax attacks. That was some shit, bro. You open your mail and you
It's like a
just
little bomb.
fucking
Right?
respiratory
Yeah.
disease, shock, and death.
And it moves fast.
On April 2nd, 1979, a cloud of anthrax spores was released into the atmosphere from the facility due to a breach of safety protocols. A malfunction in the air filtration system, combined with the removal of an air filter for maintenance, allowed the deadly spores to escape. The wind
That just
carried the
doesn't
spores
happen.
toward the nearby city and surrounding areas, leading to widespread contamination.
It's like saying Chernobyl happened
Soon
just
after,
cause.
people and animals in the affected areas began to
It's
fall
like saying
ill.
Chernobyl happened just
The
cause.
symptoms of anthrax infection, such as high fever and difficulty breathing, started manifesting in those exposed to the spores. Many victims succumbed to their infection within days. In addition to human casualties, thousands of livestock were also affected,
This is all we
resulting in
have,
their deaths
so,
or culling to prevent the spread of the disease.
FYI. This is all we have, FYI.
Initially, the Soviet government tried to cover up the incident by blaming the outbreak on contaminated meat.
I was letting you know.
They insisted that the deaths were caused by people consuming meat from infected animals. However, this explanation was not accepted by the international community, particularly by the United States, which suspected a link to the Soviet Union's biological weapons program. Sverdlovsk, where the outbreak originated, had been central to the Soviet weapons program since the Second World War, and became a closed city during the Cold War. By the 1970s, 87% of the city's production was military, largely producing munitions such as missiles, rockets, and tanks. Although the facility in question had been established in the late 1940s, it was not until the 1970s that research began to focus on anthrax. In 1992, after the dissolution of the Soviet Union, the the truth about the Sverdlovsk anthrax leak was finally revealed. Russian President Boris Yeltsin admitted that the outbreak was indeed the result of an accident at a military facility. Official documents revealed that a northeasterly wind on the day of the accident
Boris
carried
Yeltsin
only a
was
few
the
milligrams
shit.
of spores.
Do you
as
guys
far as
remember
30
how
miles
hammered
downwind.
he got with Bill Clinton?
Say it again.
While biological research
Boris
facilities
Yeltsin,
around the world today deny that
Russian
they possess anthrax
president, or
spores,
prime minister,
history has
whatever,
clearly
like,
shown
when he
that such
visited
claims
fucking
should be
Bill
treated
Clinton,
with
they got
skepticism.
blasted. This man was piss your pants drunk.
Prion research leak. In the world of prion research, scientists grapple with an enigmatic and deadly adversary. Prions, abnormally folded proteins, possess the startling ability to induce normal proteins to adopt their misfolded conformation, setting off a self-propagating chain reaction.
It's like mad
These
cow,
rogue proteins
right?
are responsible for causing a group of rare, fatal neurodegenerative disorders, such as Creutzfeldt-Jakob disease or CJD in humans. These devastating diseases are marked by the accumulation of abnormal prion proteins in the brain, ultimately leading to the progressive degeneration of brain tissue. Studying prions proves to be a formidable challenge, as they are resistant to standard sterilization procedures and can withstand extreme conditions. When an individual becomes infected with prions, they typically experience mental deterioration as the prions corrupt their cells, leaving the brain riddled with microscopic holes reminiscent of a sponge. Victims
Damn,
display
son,
symptoms
that
of
shit
dementia
put holes
and
on
impaired
your
motor
brain.
functions,
Like
with most patients
like
succumbing to
syphilis.
the disease within a few months to a
I don't
year.
want holes on my
Tragically,
brain.
there is no cure.
Syphilis causes you to get, and spinal meningitis causes you to get holes in your brain.
Prions can spread through contact with infected brain matter,
I
and despite
am
their potential to cause
vaccinated.
fatalities, prion
That's
research
meningitis,
remains
too.
relatively commonplace, with occasional accidents and leaks. In a chilling turn of events in 2012, the University of Texas inadvertently sent live prion samples to numerous labs across the globe. Believing they were shipping inactive samples, the university inadvertently sent live prions due to a labeling mistake. When a recipient lab in Maryland discovered that the samples had infected live mice, they alerted the University of Texas. An investigation then uncovered the extent of this potentially catastrophic error. In 2019, the prion research community was shaken by the tragic death of a young French lab worker, Emily Jomain, who succumbed to variant CJD. 9 years earlier, Emily accidentally stabbed her thumb while working in a prion lab at France's National Research Institute for Agriculture,
Well,
Food, and
shit.
Environment. Although aware of the potential contamination, it took more than 7 years for symptoms to emerge.
Damn.
Emily's descent began with burning pain in her right shoulder and neck, progressing to depression, anxiety, memory impairment, and visual hallucinations. In time, her muscles stiffened, and she lost the ability to move and speak. A post-mortem analysis confirmed the diagnosis of variant CJD. Though it is possible that Emily contracted the disease through contaminated meat, researchers consider this unlikely due to the absence of similar cases in France since 2014. When a second case emerged years later, French authorities responded by temporarily banning prion research and conducting an investigation. 1978 UK smallpox outbreak.
Vaccinated for that too.
In the summer of 1978, the city of Birmingham in the United Kingdom faced an enemy it could not see. Smallpox, a deadly and contagious virus thought to be eradicated, reared its ugly head, threatening the lives of everyone in its path. The incident began at the Birmingham Medical School, where an unsuspecting medical photographer named Janet Parker worked diligently in her darkroom. Little did she know that her life was about to change forever. A floor above her, in a secure laboratory, Dr. Henry Bedson, a respected virologist, was studying smallpox
How
to
secure is
contribute to
a
the global
laboratory with
eradication campaign.
like that's like above someone's fucking house?
One fateful
Like,
day
what
in
the
August,
fuck?
Janet began to feel unwell and developed flu-like symptoms and a rash. As her condition
Yeah, that don't sound
deteriorated,
secure.
she was admitted to the East Birmingham Hospital. The doctors initially diagnosed her with a drug reaction, but soon they realized the horrifying truth. Janet had contracted smallpox. Smallpox is a highly contagious and deadly viral disease caused by the variola virus,
Damn.
which was responsible for numerous epidemics throughout human history. It is characterized by a severe rash that develops into pus-filled blisters, ultimately leaving disfiguring scars on survivors. The disease posed a significant threat to global health due to its high mortality rate, with up to 30% of infected individuals succumbing to its effects. Panic swept through the medical community.
They die from infection
How had
most of the
Janet,
time.
who had had no direct contact with the virus, contracted smallpox? The World Health Organization was notified, and an investigation began.
She swapped bodily fluids with the doctor.
Investigators traced the source of the virus back to Dr. Bedson's lab. It
Seriously?
appeared that the deadly pathogen had somehow escaped containment and made its way through the building's ventilation system, infecting Janet in her darkroom below. The realization was a chilling reminder of the unpredictability and resilience of the virus.
Yeah, that wasn't
The
secure.
government acted quickly, initiating a massive vaccination campaign. Thousands of people, including Janet's friends, family, and coworkers, were vaccinated to prevent the further spread of the virus. Over 500 people were placed in quarantine. Meanwhile, Janet fought for her life in an isolation unit, surrounded by doctors and nurses in protective gear. Despite the best efforts of the medical staff, Janet succumbed to smallpox on September 11, 1978, becoming the world's last known victim of the virus. Her mother, who'd been exposed to the virus while visiting Janet in the hospital, also fell ill but recovered. She was the only other individual to be infected. The 1978 UK smallpox outbreak had a lasting impact on the world. It reinforced the need for strict biosecurity measures and served as a stark reminder of the devastating consequences of even the smallest lapse in containment.
The weird part is that the shot
Yeah.
that they get now, it still leaves the little signature mark on your arm, like the scar, because you get a pustulate on your arm. And like when my ex-husband got it,
Yep.
when he went through basic and shit, like I couldn't touch his arm for like 2 weeks.
Shit.
He had to keep a bandage over it.
Well, I know I
'Cause
am
it
not
would have exposed
vaccinated
me.
then.
You are.
Really?
It's part of your infancy vaccinations.
But I don't have a thing.
No, it's not the full-blown smallpox vaccination. When you get your chickenpox one, they combine it. They did a combined like vaccination for it now.
Heck
That's
yeah.
why there's the chickenpox and measles. That's why there's a big push for it, because if you don't vaccinate for that, it gets worse and it turns and it can mutate to smallpox.
Yeah.
But because they have similar hosts, like similar properties.
Yeah, I think they're just trying to eradicate that whole like virus family, like shingles, as well as something that they're really
Well,
pushing
the way
on.
it goes is that it's like chickenpox, measles, shingles.
Yeah.
Shingles is because you carry the antibody and it flares in your body. So it can be really rough. You need to chill out.
Well, shit.
I think that first one was the grossest one, though.
Yeah,
Which one?
that definitely won. You bled from your anus.
Which one was that?
For the-
Marburg
you-
virus.
You bleed
what?
from
The
all
Marburg
orifices.
virus.
The Harburg virus?
Marburg.
Oh, Marburg. Oh yeah, where you bleed from every orifice.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like those are the worst ones. Yeah, we're gonna leave it on that thought. Thanks, Dad.